Hello everyone, this is Asghar Nazir. Today we will discuss about the if conditions and if else conditions. So let me show you the definition first. If else conditions are used to implement decision making in our code. So let's say we are writing a code and we are building a program and we want that program to take the decisions. We see these decisions all over the applications. For example, when we open the Chrome browser and if the internet is not available, we right away see that, hey, check your internet connection. That internet connection is not available. That is possible because Chrome has a piece of code implemented that checks if the internet is not available, then display a different screen. Otherwise, open the browser and let the user enter the URL that user wants to visit. Similarly, when we open the internet connection, for example, let's say if I open Slack or Discord, these applications, they use internet. When the internet is not available, we get a message straightforward right away that, hey, internet is not available or Slack is trying to connect. We see all of these kind of decisions all over the world. For example, this IntelliJ. If user clicks on the navigate button, then show all of these options. If user clicks on this code button, show these options. If user click on the refactor button, then show these options. So these if else conditions, they are heavily used in all the programs. For example, you are building a program, you are writing a piece of code, a script to test a website, and you are testing if the logo of the website is visible on the front page, then you say test case passes, otherwise you say the test case fails. How it is possible? Again, with the help of if else condition. If else conditions allow us to execute two blocks of code or two sets of commands depending upon a condition. And we will learn how these conditions work in detail when I will be showing you the demo. So this is why we use if else condition. If we use if else conditions, we can write intelligent programs that can take decisions just like humans. Let's say if it is Sunday and my mood is good and if I have enough money in my pocket, maybe I want to go shopping. So these conditions, like if the day is Sunday or if I have enough money or if my mood is good, these are all conditions, and based on these conditions I am taking a decision. So similarly, your code can also take decision based on some conditions. So let's first try to understand those decisions and how those decisions work based on conditions. It's very important. So let me create a new package and let me create a new class. So let's say, for example, we are trying to implement a very simple if condition. I will show the basic syntax first and then we will understand it line by line how that syntax is working. So for example, I want to write a very simple program that checks if it is Sunday, I want to keep sleeping till 11 a.m. So how can I write such a program with the help of if condition? So let me write it down and then I will explain it. So I have written this simple program in which I am using an if condition. And now let me explain what is happening here. So here I am declaring a Boolean variable and I am calling it is Sunday. And right now I am storing a value true inside this is Sunday variable. Then I am passing that variable inside these parentheses. So this is the syntax of if condition. We write if all in lowercase, then we write the parentheses. Then we write something which is true or false, or a variable that contains true or false, or a piece of code that evaluates to true or false, or something that returns a true or false. Remember, all types of if conditions, they work based on Boolean values. If you are writing something that does not return a Boolean value, a true or false, you will not be able to use that inside these parentheses. These parentheses, they only allow us to write a piece of Java code that either directly contain a true or false, like for example like this, I can directly put true or false, or I can write a variable that contains true or false, or I can write a condition, the relational operators that you learned in the previous video. If you have not watched that video, I will put a link in the description and I will also put it on top of the video. Please watch that video. Those relational operators, they are heavily used with if else conditions. So what I was saying, either we directly put true or false, or we put a variable in here that contains true or false, or we write a condition using the relational operator that evaluates to true or false. So right now I'm using a variable that contains true, and how if conditions work, they check if we have a true value here inside these parentheses, then whatever code we put starting from this curly bracket till this curly bracket, Java executes that code, and if there is a false, then that piece of code is ignored, and then we basically continue executing the rest of the code that we see. So for example, right now if I run this program, I will get this output, let's sleep till 11 a.m. Why I will be getting this output? I will be getting this output because this is Sunday variable contains a true, and if I put a false here, and don't worry about this dot if demo, it's just the name of the class. So now I have stored a false inside this is Sunday variable. This time if I run this program, I will not see this line. So this is how the if else conditions work. Whatever we put inside these parentheses, if it is true, then Java executes all the code that we write starting from here till here. Like for example, I can put many different lines here. I can say, let's go shopping. Right now I have written 2 lines of code, but because they are inside these parentheses, they will be controlled by this condition that I write here. So if I run this code, I will not see any of these lines. Why? Because it's a false. This is Sunday variable, it contains a false. However, any lines of code outside of this bracket, they are not controlled by this if condition. For example, if I write hello Java here, no matter whether this if condition has a true or a false, this line will still be executed. It is not affected by this if condition. The if condition only affects the code starting from this bracket till this brackets, and they are very important. These brackets, they are very important, so pay special attention. And if you are confused about the brackets, what you can do, you can for example put your cursor on the starting bracket and it will highlight the ending bracket. If you are still confused, you can double click inside the if condition and it will tell you all the code that will be affected by this condition. So let's explore these conditions more. So what I can do, if I put true here, as you can guess the output, because there is a true, all of these lines will be executed, and this line, it does not have any effect. I will see this line no matter what, if there is a true or false. Because there is a true, if I run this code now, I see all 3 lines of code. If I put a false here and then if I run this code, I only see hello Java. So this line is not affected. No matter if I put true or false, it is always displayed. So let me remove it for a second. It was just to show you that what code is affected by the if else condition. So now what I was saying, that we can directly write the true false inside the if, or we can use a variable that contains a true or false, or we can use a relational operator here. So let me show you more demos of the relational operators. So let me create a new class. So here I have written another if condition, but this time I'm not using a true or false directly. I'm also not using a variable that contains a true or false. This variable is integer. But when we apply these relational operators, this greater than sign, less than sign, greater than equal to sign, not equal to sign, these conditions, they return true or false. And that's why we are able to use this condition here. If bank balance is greater than $1,000, then let's print out, let's buy an iPhone. Why? Let me show you. Actually, this condition, this piece of code that I have written here, it actually returns a true or false again. So I'm simply taking the condition from this if condition and I'm printing it out just to show you how this relational operator, this greater than sign, is turning this piece of code into a true or false. Remember, always, no matter what, if else conditions, they work on booleans. So now if I run this code, I will see that I see a true. This true is coming from this relational operator here. Relational operators, they always result in either true or false, and this relational operator, this statement here, bank balance is greater than 1000, because it is returning a true, because it is evaluating to true, that true is then passed inside the if. So Java evaluates this condition first, it evaluates to true, and that's why again Java runs whatever we put inside these brackets, starting from this curly bracket till this curly bracket. This is very important. No matter what, if else conditions, they will always work based on a boolean true or false. If we get a true, Java executes whatever we have inside the brackets. If we get a false, Java ignores this code. So either we can put true or false directly, or we can use a boolean variable, or we can write conditions with the help of relational operators that includes other data type. Now if I put, let's say, 10,000 here, let's say, or let's say I decrease the bank balance in my account to 200. Now this condition bank balance, the bank balance variable contains 200. 200 is not greater than 1000, and the way Java says this is, Java says now this condition is false. So Java evaluates this condition to false now, because 200 is indeed not greater than 1000. It will return a false. That false will be passed here, and this time, because we have a false, Java ignores whatever we have inside here, and we don't get anything on the screen. You see this printout statement, balance is not greater than 1000, we get a false, and if we get a false, then Java does not execute these statements here. So this is how if conditions work. Now let me show you more examples. For example, I can have another variable, let's say string. This time I'm rewriting the previous condition with the help of a string variable. So again I have written an if condition, but check this out. Neither I'm using a direct true or false, nor I'm using a boolean variable. I'm also not using a relational operator, but here I'm using a method. And let me show you the reason I'm able to use this method is again because this method equals method, it checks if the day contains the Sunday. If it contains, it returns true. And the reason why it is working here, because this piece of code, it actually also returns a true or false. So you see, I get it true. So this whole piece of Java code that I have written here, because it returns a true, that's why I am able to use this inside the if condition. And again, because this if condition has a true, it executes whatever code we put here, and we see let's do shopping. So again, remember, if else conditions, they work based on the true. If there is a true, Java executes whatever we put here. If there is a false, then Java does not execute whatever we put here. And this true and false, it is heavily related to the relational operators or these methods. But the baseline is if else conditions always require a boolean true or false. As long as you understand how to produce those true or false using the relational operators or directly by using boolean variables or putting true and false, you will be able to understand how if else conditions work. So if you are still confused, go back and watch the previous video. Now let me also show you a demo about the if else conditions. So here in this example, I'm using if else conditions. They are very similar to the if conditions. If you have understood the if part and how these conditions work, it's just a piece of cake. In if else conditions, the only difference is that if this condition is true, Java executes whatever we put starting from this bracket till this bracket. However, if this condition is false, previously we were not getting anything, but this time if this condition is false, Java will execute all the code starting from here till here. So that's the only difference. Previously, there was only one block of code. There was only one thing that we were doing. If the condition was true, we were doing that thing. If the condition was false, we were not doing that thing. So if we have enough balance, if the balance is greater than 3000, then it says let's buy the iPhone, otherwise let's save more. So if I run this code, because this bank balance is greater than 3000, and I'm intentionally using double here so that you know we can also use double values here, because this is true. And just to show you that indeed it is true, let me also print it out. It's not necessary, it's just to show you that indeed these conditions return true, and then only Java executes whatever we put here. So if I run this code, you see first we get a true, and because we have a true here, Java executes this part. It says let's buy let me fix it. Let's buy an iPhone and the MacBook. And if this condition fails, let's say if the bank balance drops to, I don't know, $2,800, this time this condition will fail because 2,800 is not greater than 3,000, and Java will go with the else part. So this time Java ignores whatever we write starting from this bracket, this curly bracket, this one till this one, and it executes everything starting from this bracket till this bracket. It can contain thousands of lines. It's just for demo purposes that I'm only using a single line. So you see this condition, now it has returned a false, and if there is a false, what does Java do? Java ignores whatever we have starting from this curly bracket, this if part, and it executes the else part. Now you can write any condition based on any variable as long as you know how to use relational operators to produce these conditions. Remember, whatever code produces a false or true, a boolean false or true, you can use that code inside this condition part and you can come up with a condition. And again, after this, the rules are very simple. Condition is true, Java executes this part. Condition is false, Java executes this part. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. You have learned a lot from this video. If you have learned something from this video, please do subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon, and I will see you in the next video.